Did you ever wonder? I do. Did you ever wonder why the sun always rises, but the stars never fall? Why dry land is never satisfied by water? And why fire never says enough?
Today on Bible Wonders, I'm wondering, did you know that lies make you skinny? Well, and it's amazing how God brings things back around that I've been studying. And you may remember last week I did a Bible Wonders on my struggles with lying. And so if you go back and listen to that podcast last week, that'd be good. But it would help you with this one if you hadn't heard it. But essentially, it's fascinating that, a couple days ago, I did the podcast on how truth in the inmost part has to do with this part of your body called a caul, which has to do with the fat that surrounds the liver and also surrounds your stomach. Well, I guess God just has me on this lesson plan of, oh my goodness, I had not put these two together. So when you look at the word lie in Hebrew, we talked about this last week, it's kabash, which has got this huff followed by a het followed by a shin, which it does look like something's getting consumed here. I mean, that's the way that letter shin means consumed or to oxidize. So something's getting burned up, and specifically, since it's a het that's right before that shin, it would look like life is getting burned up. And that hoof in front shows that that's kind of done of our wearing our own crown rather than using the crown of Christ. So it's interesting that lies actually consume, and what they consume would appear to be fat. Now, isn't that interesting that we talked about how the fat is what protects us, our innermost parts, because, in Psalms 51 where David said, God desireth truth in the innermost parts. What he doesn't desire is lies, and lies actually consume fat. According to Psalm 119:24, it says, my knees are weak through fasting, and my flesh faileth of fatness. Well, that word faileth is the same word as lie. So what it's showing us is that to make this practical, right, is that when you have a spirit of poverty, like you're making an agreement with a lie that God is not going to meet my needs. And so if you're like me, and every single day, my car makes a sound and I go, oh, that's going to be $500. Or, I see the light flashing on my septic tank out there in the yard and I go, oh, that's going to be $1,000. And all of a sudden, Satan flips a little lie out there. I grab hold of it. And the next thing you know, I have an agreement with the spirit of poverty. And those spirits of poverty literally make you lean. They make you skinny because, as we talked about, a couple shows ago, that God desires truth in your innermost parts, and truth has to do with fatness. Now, I never had made this connection, but this is absolutely beautiful when you put it together to go, okay, so what you're telling me is I study the Word of God, the Bible, it is Jesus. And so as I consume the Word of God, I am creating a layer of fat in my caul, my spiritual caul, right? That helps isolate me from the infection of lies. So as I bring in more truth, which, since the day I began reading the Bible, that Norman Vincent Peale told me, if I want to sell more cars, I need a positive mental attitude. And how to get a positive mental attitude is to read the Bible, which made no sense to me at the time, but I took him up on it. What he knew is that faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. Well, the Word of God is Jesus, and faith does come by reading the Word and seeing how God came through time and time and time again and continues to come through even to the end of the story. Obviously, the beautiful thing is, oh my goodness, the more I study the Word of God, the more I see that, of course, God's going to work it out with my septic tank. Of course, God is going to provide for my needs with that noise I'm hearing in my car. Of course, I don't have to worry about my daughter is actually driving to Alabama today. He's going to meet that need. He is on my side. If I start making agreements with lies, I'm really making myself poor I'm making myself in poverty. I'm making myself skinny. Because to live in the kingdom is to live in absolute faith that God has your every need met, and He is definitely with you and for you. And when I think about that, I do not think that somebody who is dying of starvation is believing that. And how many people do I know that don't spend any time in the Word of God? And oh my goodness, no wonder they believe so many lies. No wonder they're so starving for affection, so starving for joy, so starving for all those things, because they're so skinny. They need God. They need the Bible. How do we, something to wonder about is how do we share that message?
Did you ever wonder?